Thanks, Priscilla. Okay, as Graham said last week, we are really going to take most of the time today to practice some of our dialogues that Chuck Starnes taught us a few weeks ago. Several of you have said how helpful that is and how you love it when you do it and then you just don't do it at home. And so some reinforcement will help you get it in your head and help you to remember it and hopefully be a blessing and a benefit to you. We are just going to start with, I put up Weekend to Remember so I wouldn't forget. I want to remind anybody who's interested in Weekend to Remember is in San Jose this year in May. That's very unusual. And so it's a great weekend, Friday night to Sunday morning, and you get a discounted rate at the hotel, but because it's in San Jose, you don't even have to pay for a hotel if you don't want, and you could stay at home. So we love the Weekend to Remember program, and if that is of any interest to you, be aware that that is coming up. You're welcome to sign up for that. We are actually going to start today with just an appreciation dialogue. So Chuck taught us longer dialogues this year. And I think he was assuming that everyone had done all of his previous dialogues. But some of you are newer with us and haven't done those simpler, easier dialogues. So the appreciation dialogue was at the beginning of the other dialogues you saw as well. So it won't be new to you, but it's a great way. We've talked a lot about appreciation this semester because it was one of our 4 habits. And also, it's just really important if you are not in the habit of regularly, verbally appreciating your spouse, you are missing out on a great opportunity to bless your spouse, but also change your own narratives. The more you do these things, the more you will see the benefit and the changes in your relationship. So, the dialogues are on your table, and on one side is the appreciation dialogue. We're going to do that one first, which is quite simple, but it still does the mirroring and the validating and the empathizing. And so those are just super skills. For any of you who are like, this is too much, I can't do all of these steps, right? Just start there. Wherever you are, you're learning a little bit, right? So you don't have to get it all perfect, but you'd be surprised in a heated situation. Graham and I are constantly surprised about this when we're upset that we don't really hear each other, even though we think we do. So when we're calm, we mostly understand everything each other is saying. But if you're in the habit of repeating back to your spouse, so I heard you say that, it may seem obvious when you're just doing an appreciation, but you would be surprised if you're a little bit elevated that you will incorporate stories into your I heard you say that. So I heard you say that, and it gives your spouse a chance to say, no, I didn't say that. I meant this, right? Or maybe they misspoke or whatever. So these are just like awesome, basic skills that will really be great. So our good friends, Anthony and Mandy, are going to do an appreciation dialogue demonstration for us up here. Thank you, Anthony and Mandy. Yay. And I guess I should have brought up a couple of chairs. Anthony, actually, I can, do you want higher ones? I'll get those, thanks. Come on up. Anthony's going to tell us how the dialogues have impacted them for a minute also, too. I heard him telling this to Chuck, and I thought it was great.
All right. So these appreciation dialogues have been very impactful. I think something we've noticed is, and I think this was for me the first time we did this, is just going in and sharing my feelings is not comfortable at all. And it's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the way I was raised, or it's just like, hey, household full of boys, and like the way we showed our feelings was it kind of ended up in a fight between me and my brother. Like that's how we showed our feelings. So not the most positive way of doing it, but it's like, and so it's something about going deeper, and it's something that was really scary to me. And I think as we do this conversation and the validation that comes from Mandy as she was validating me on things, I just kept going deeper. So I kind of like compare it to almost like a hallway full of doors. And you get to that first door in the hallway, it's like, hey, honey, can I talk with you about something? Or I'm about, something I want to address with her. Getting to that first door for me is really difficult. Like, not because she's intimidating or shuts me down. I mean, it's not about that. It was all in my own head. And so she would always notice it, and she'd be like, do you want to talk about something? Is something wrong? And I'm like, yeah, how did you know? So there was clearly something I was doing. But then as we had these conversations, and it was just like, as she validated me, like the door would open, and then I would go to that next door, and then she would validate me again, and I would go to the next door. And we actually experienced something in one of the last conversations. And I think it was, I can't remember which one it was, the dialogue, but it was, we ended up getting to a place where she figured out something, and it was from my childhood, something that I saw in my parents that I was really scared it would happen to us. And she didn't know it was all this kind of fear-based thing of something that happened in my childhood. So it was just amazing. And she said, wow, we've had that conversation for 5 years or longer. And I finally know why. I know why you feel that way. And it was like, okay, that I can tell that's really important to you. So let's figure out a plan. And it was something about our future. I'm always like looking ahead, trying to plan for the future and things, and it exhausts her. So I think it was something good, and now she knows why that's so important to me. So yeah, no, I think it was great. That's kind of the gist.
Thank you. I don't know if this works. Only that one. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So, do you want me to walk you through this, or do you guys want to just do this?
I think we can do it.
I think you can just do it. Okay. So they're going to demonstrate an appreciation dialogue. You can follow along on your paper on the table if you want. Is this a good time to talk? Oh, is this a good time to talk?
Yes. What do you want to talk about?
I really just wanted to tell you that I appreciate your willingness to sit down and engage in conversation and talk through, talk through times when we're in a tough situation. And also just to implement a lot of these exercises and tools that we've been using and learning about in Venture Marriage.
Well, thank you, honey. So let me make sure I understand. So it sounds like you just really appreciate my willingness to engage in some maybe uncomfortable or difficult conversations, and also just implementing some of the stuff we're learning here in this class. Did I get that right? Or is there more?
Yeah, and what that makes me feel is that you're invested and that you care, and you want a good outcome and a healthy marriage.
So let me just make sure I got all that. Sounds like, just when we're doing this and having these conversations, that you feel that I'm fully invested in wanting to basically pursue this marriage and make it better and just put in the work required. Did I get that right, or is there anything else that you want to share?
You did, and the reason that it's so important is, when I, growing up, I didn't have a positive role model for communication in a relationship, and I grew up watching my parents argue and slam doors in each other's faces and walk out on each other. And that's always been in the back of my mind of something that I never wanted to be a part of our marriage.
I mean, I had no idea that you experienced that kind of trauma and example growing up. So we put it back. So let me make sure I got that. So your parents, when you were a kid, you experienced your parents kind of setting that unhealthy example and slamming doors and not dealing with the conflict in a healthy way or a positive way, ultimately kind of driving them further apart. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share?
No, you got it.
Okay. Well, let me kind of just summarize everything that we've talked about or what I've heard from you. Sounds like you just really appreciate me, in the challenging times, in the difficult circumstances, being able to engage in some healthy dialogue and conversation with you, and ultimately, just trying to implement the tools we're learning in a healthy way. And that's making you feel as if pursuing the marriage and wanting to work on it and invest in it, which is so impactful because you had a very kind of negative view when you were a kid in terms of how your parents didn't deal with it in a healthy way, ultimately leading to a divorce. And I'm sure that's super scary, and which is why this is so important that I continue doing this. Did I get that all right?
You did.
Well, thanks for sharing, and I really appreciate this positive feedback, of course, and I'm going to keep trying to do it, even though it's hard for me sometimes to do that. I'm going to keep trying.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, you guys. That was great. Really appreciate that. So we are going to start with just an appreciation dialogue. I'm going to give you about 15 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes for each person to just express an appreciation to your spouse about something. Follow the dialogue, repeat it back to them, empathize, make sure you got it, right? You're just building your connection here. All right. I love that. I'm seeing some people even with a few tears. So I think that's great. Doesn't it feel wonderful to be appreciated by your spouse and have them put into words things that are valuable to them? So thank you for investing in this process. I really, really appreciate that. Okay. We are going to take some time to also do the change request dialogue. If you were not here, this might feel like a lot, but Chuck taught us this, whatever it is now, 3-4 weeks ago. And so hopefully you were here for that. The change request dialogue, as you can see on the back page there, right, it starts the same way with an appreciation, to let the person know, you're not just coming at them, but what you get to share here is a frustration. And this is something that a lot of us don't do that well, right? Either he likes to talk about the hailstorm, right? The person who's just like explodes outward when they're upset, and that can be very disrespectful and very threatening. But some of us are turtles, right? And so we just like pull into our shell. And that is actually just as destructive because you can't really have a relationship with somebody who won't show up. So it's very important to realize when you are the turtle and you pull in like that and you shut down, you're causing damage to the relationship too. You got to learn some ways to speak up and get over that so that your spouse knows what's going on and they have an opportunity to change. That's what you're working on together. So this is a sort of almost a 3-step process. First, the appreciation, and then this is a way, it kind of puts boundaries so that you have kind of a respectful way to express something that was frustrating for you. And your spouse can hear it, they don't feel threatened, and you're going to do the mirroring and validating again. And then after you get to the end and you feel heard, then there's a change request opportunity, right? So you have the opportunity to ask for behavior change from your spouse. And hopefully they can hear that. You know, you don't have to do what the spouse says, but you're looking for ways to improve whatever this frustration was. Chuck has shared with us a really beautiful video that we thought that if you were here, you remember he dithered between showing a video or he let Lori Kate and Cody Pyle come up and do this demonstration instead. But so this is him coaching virtually a couple doing this dialogue. So you can follow along again if you want. But this will just refresh, and also you get Chuck reminding them of what to do. So this is really great, and Stefan is gonna show this for us. Beautiful. I love that. I love that. Chuck says that couple has gone to the mission field now, which is what they were talking about, and has had a really fruitful ministry in Africa. So I love seeing them work that through. And so you're going to have an opportunity to do this now with your spouse. So you see how all those pieces work together, and I know that for some of you this feels a little overwhelming. So do the amount that you can do, but just see that it allows you to say, clearly they're both pretty emotional there, right? Who knows what their previous conversation was? Maybe it was quite heated or frustrated that morning. But here they're able to get it out, and no matter what they decide to do, they understand each other a lot better, right? And he will understand why next time when she is like, I'm in a panic about that, right? So that's what you're trying to do, is help each other know what's going on inside. Sometimes it's hard for even you to figure out, right? So you've got to figure out what's going on inside and then share that. So we have about a half hour left, so I would say 15 minutes for each person. And we will close up after that. I'll come up in 15 minutes and just let you know in case you haven't switched yet, so you can monitor yourselves. But the change request dialogue is back there. Help each other out, give each other grace. You're learning new skills, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just learning. So enjoy this.